welcome to everyone that's joined from all around the world. Thank you very much for joining me for this session. My name's Steve Bettison. I'm one of the technical sales engineers at Runecast. And today we're going to be talking about secure VMware vSphere upgrades. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how Runecast can help you plan your upgrade stress-free and with confidence. And what we're going to be showing you in the demo is the Runecast simulation upgrade tool. And that's the tool that I think you're going to find very, very useful for helping you do your VMware upgrades. So there's going to be a number of slides that we're going to go through, and then we're going to get onto the demo. I'm going to actually drop off camera. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. I've got a bit of a sniffly cold and a dry cough. And rather than you see me coughing or spluttering, I'm going to come off camera. Hopefully it won't affect the session, and I'll join back at the end, hopefully. Okay, so let's move on. So in this session, you're going to learn why it's important to upgrade to the latest version of VMware vSphere, why upgrade planning is important, and I'm going to give you some tips or steps, if you like, for a successful and secure VMware vSphere upgrade. But I have a question for you before we start. Are any of you planning a vSphere upgrade in the near future, and to what version? If you're confident and brave, perhaps you could put something in the chat window. If you'd rather be interested in having a conversation with me, or you can see that I've got my email address there, steve.bettison@runecast.com. If you want to reach out to me personally, that's absolutely fine. Let's just see if anybody is interested. Considering an upgrade from V7 to V8, but hesitant after the many issues in V7. Yeah, understandable. Yes, from 703 to 8. Are there any brave folks on the call that may be still on 6? Yeah, 6.7, yes to 703. 703 to 8, upgrading from 6.7, update to version 7. Great. We're going to show you during the webinar today, through the demo, that we can do both of those things. And what the tool does, what the upgrade simulation tool does, is it identifies where you've got gaps. So this is the planning phase, planning stages of your vSphere upgrade. So we're going to show you if your hardware is suitable. We're going to show you if you need to update your BIOS. We're going to show you whether you've got drivers that are out of date or mismatch, or the firmware on those drivers is not up to scratch compared to the HCL. So we're going to show you all of that in this webinar. Okay, I will say, if you've got any, somebody has put a questions in the Q&A. Okay, not me. Customer wanting to upgrade from 6.7 to version 7. Fine, we'll show you how to do that. If you've got any questions as we're going through, use the Q&A rather than the chat window, and I will stop and try and address those as we go through the session. Okay, right, let's just clear some of these windows out. I'll keep an eye on the Q&A. Right. So, what else are you going to learn in this session? So you'll find out how to ensure that your hardware will be supported by the latest version, vSphere version, whether your drivers, firmware, BIOS versions will be supported, and whether your environment is configured correctly and optimal. And this is all going to be shown in the demo. So why do we upgrade to the latest version, or why do we upgrade vSphere in the first place? Well, let's start with the top point. So vSphere 6.5 and 6.7, as many of you be aware, is end of life a month ago to the day. So no more support for 6.5 or 6.7. So no patches, no knowledge base articles, no security hardening guidelines around that. Everything has stopped. Now, if you've still got 6.5 and 6.7, and it would appear that some of you have, and you don't have Runecast, we can still help. We can still help you out, because with Runecast, we will be able to identify whether you can upgrade with your existing hardware and looking at the IO devices, but also we can check against the rest of the product feature. So we can check against knowledge base articles, we can check against general best practice from VMware, we can check against security hardening guidelines, and we can also check for vulnerabilities. So you can still have some kind of support around 6.5 and 6.7 with Runecast. But naturally you're going to want to upgrade to 7 because that is going to be supported, I believe, until April 2025. That's when vSphere 7 will be end of general support. Another reason for upgrading, new capabilities for growing workloads. There's going to be new benefits, of course, for upgrading to the latest version, and that currently is vSphere 8. New capabilities for those growing workloads. Modern protection against new security threats. So we're tightening up on the physical infrastructure security there. Simplified software patching and hardware upgrades. Meeting the needs of the next generation infrastructure as well. And just to highlight some of the key capabilities of vSphere 8. So that first point brings the benefits of cloud to on-premise workloads, supercharge workload performance through DPUs and GPUs. DPUs, just as a reminder, data processing unit stands for, is a new programmable processor that helps move data around these data centers. In essence, DPUs enable more efficient storage and free up the CPU to focus on processing. So the DPU essentially offloads networking and communication tasks from the CPU. Also, it's mentioned there, accelerates innovation for DevOps, around Kubernetes and containerization, with an enterprise-ready integrated Kubernetes runtime. And of course, enhances as well operational efficiency. What does that mean? It means that your vSphere, your VMware environment is going to run optimal. It's going to probably have less downtime. Services, applications, workloads are going to run more efficiently. At the end, happy customers, happy end users, if you like. Okay, any questions here? Let's just take a look. VMware couldn't sell us 7. We have to buy 8, upgrade straight to 8, or downgrade from 8 to 7. Well, that's a good question. 8's fairly new. When did it come out? 27th of September. What a lot of folks tend to do is, a lot of organizations do, is wait for that update 1. So not necessarily rushing into upgrading to 8. Some customers like to just move straight into 8 because of the benefits we've just covered there, and that's the specific requirements that they need. You can upgrade to 8 and downgrade back to 7. That is quite possible. As I say, it varies. Different people have different views. As I say, a lot of customers will tend to wait, see how vSphere 8 goes. If there's any bugs, wait for those to be addressed and fixed before upgrading, and then upgrading straight to 8 update 1 or something like that. Good question though. Thanks very much for that. Okay, moving on. So why upgrade planning is so important. In the famous words of Benjamin Franklin, failing to plan is planning to fail. I guess you could say that about anything really. If you don't plan something properly, you've got a higher chance of failure. And I think with vSphere upgrades, the planning stage is so important because you need to get that right. If you miss something out and you get so far down the road with your upgrade and it fails, it's going to cost you time, money. You're going to have to do that upgrade again, and you're not going to be in a very good place. So the planning stage is really important. So why upgrade planning is so important? So poor planning leads to failed upgrades and downtime, which is going to increase those costs. Upgrades are going to take longer if not planned properly, again bringing increasing costs. And probably the key step in the planning is ensuring that your hardware, your drivers and firmware are capable of running the new version. You know, it's a key step to a successful upgrade program. And with Runecast, we're going to show you how, with the upgrade simulation tool, we're going to save you hours, depending on the size of your environment. You know, many of our customers have bought Runecast just for this feature alone. You know, they're going to embark on a large vSphere upgrade program. They bought Runecast, maybe 50 or 60 servers that they've got to upgrade. They've come back and said, you saved us days, possibly weeks in the planning, and the resource and the time and the money, you know, couldn't put a figure on it really, but it's just, and also it filled them with confidence that they were able to do that vSphere upgrade confidently, because with our automated approach, we haven't missed anything out. There's no room for human error. So how the Runecast platform helps you automate the vSphere upgrade. So it is an automated approach. I'm going to explain how Runecast works for those on the call that may have not come across Runecast before, how it works and what it does. We'll go through that in a minute. But we're simply automating this planning process. We're scanning against your environment. We're checking against the VMware HCL for hardware compatibility. So if we're upgrading from version 7 to 8, for example, we will identify whether the hardware is suitable, whether the BIOS version is suitable, whether the IO devices and firmware and drivers are suitable, and whether there's any mismatch. So benefits: we're going to save you time and resources, and we're going to quickly help you with Runecast identify if your hardware is capable of running the new version, as I've just said, if your drivers and firmware are not in the hardware compatibility list. We're going to provide details of alternative drivers and firmware that are supported for the upgrade, and identifying those gaps, and then that all important, you know, remediation work that is required before upgrading. So we're kind of identifying, we're showing you where you've got gaps in your hardware, your IO devices, drivers, telling you what you need to do, or showing you what you need to do in that sort of remediation work, and then you're in a position then to do the upgrade. There are other things that we're going to talk about, like VMware's product interoperability matrix that comes into the play as well, and I'll talk about that in a few slides time. Okay, so what is Runecast and how does it work, and how do we do this? How does this upgrade simulation tool work within the Runecast solution? Well, Runecast Analyzer, if you like, is a software platform solution. And what we do, and this is a word we use quite a lot, it proactively analyzes IT systems for vulnerabilities, and against security compliance frameworks, best practice alignment, that's vendor best practice alignment, vulnerabilities, so from CISA and MITRE, and as well as you can see there on the slide, hardware compatibility list produced by VMware. So as well as identifying these potential issues, whether it's misconfiguration, whether there's a vulnerability, whether you're non-compliant, whether you've got some hardware that's not compatible, we don't just identify these issues, but we show you how to resolve, and we give you resolution guidance and remediation steps to mitigate these potential issues that could lead to outages or even security breaches. So how does Runecast do that? Well, we have what we call an AI-driven platform. So we have a patented AI engine that sits behind it. All of this human readable information that's out there from those vendors that we've just been talking about all get fed into the Runecast Analyzer. and we convert this human readable information into machine-based rules. And it's these machine-based rules that we use with our painted-in AI engine. It's these rules that are used to scan against those IT systems. IT systems being VMware. We now offer cloud as well, so AWS, Azure, Kubernetes, and we can even scan against operating systems as well. So that's how the solution works. That's how it all fits together. So AI engine, information fed in, machine-based rules created through the AI knowledge passing there. We're then able to scan those systems and proactively identify issues, misconfiguration, and of course, we're talking about today hardware and hardware compatibility. Right, let's just check, see if we've got any more questions. We don't appear to at the moment. Okay, keep these questions coming if there are any that come up. So I mentioned at the beginning, I was going to show you five tips or steps for a successful and secure vSphere upgrade. And if I move to the next slide, these are the 5 steps. So the first one I've got there is using Runecast, using the Runecast platform to do that simulation, to simulate the upgrade, to identify where we are. Is our hardware compatible? Is our BIOS versions correct? Do we need to do anything? So in 1 and 2 come hand in hand. So finding those gaps and identifying the alternatives. And this is the step 2 is where you're identifying the remediation work that needs to be done before you can even begin thinking about doing that upgrade. Now, while you're doing kind of steps 1 and 2, check step 3, check interoperability. So the advice would be to use that VMware's product interoperability matrix to check that we are interoperable with depending on your environment, what you've got, what your VMware infrastructure looks like. If it's integrating with another VMware product, you need to check its interoperability there. You may be looking to or have cloud coverage as well. So you'll be looking at cloud interoperability and also third-party solutions. There may be a third-party application or database that your VMware environment is integrating with. You need to check that if you do upgrade, you're not going to break something else down the line. So that's a step. That's a step you would need to take with VMware's product interoperability matrix alongside Runecast upgrade simulation tool. Once you've done that remediation work, once you've checked all that interoperability, you're now in a very good place, hopefully, to do your the upgrade itself. And my advice there is follow VMware's upgrade documentation to the letter. It typically is in a phased deployment manner, so there'll be different components depending on your environment, what you would upgrade first. But as an example, you would upgrade your vCenter before you start upgrading your ESXi hosts. But follow that documentation to the letter. And then the 5th step, I'll just come off that. The 5th step, you've got Runecast deployed, so you can continuously check against the HCL. So most customers that have Runecast will be running a scan typically once every 24 hours to scan the environment. And what that's going to do is keep them in check. It's if you're adding new hardware, if you're changing your environment, adding new devices, it's constantly checking against VMware's HCL. But also, if you need to plan for future upgrades, you might be going from 6 to 7 now, and then later down the line, you'd be looking to upgrade from 7 to 8. You've got Runecast to be able to do that, to do this preparation work, to do this planning stage, to be able to identify the gaps if there are any gaps, and to be able to do that remediation work. But not only that, with Runecast, because of the other functionality that we have, your vSphere 7 or your vSphere 8 environment is going to be constantly checked for against knowledge base articles that VMware release. it's going to constantly check against the vendor best practice guidelines, so VMware's best practice guidelines. It's also going to be checking for vulnerabilities against that environment as well, and any security compliance frameworks that you may have. As a default, VMware customers would have VMware security hardening guidelines, but you may be following another compliance framework as well, like GDPR. Again, Runecast is able to continually check against your new vSphere environment. Okay, let's see the Runecast platform in action. I'm going to just put this last slide up. So if you're interested in finding out any more information about Runecast, you can visit our website, www.runecast.com/contact. There's lots of collateral and material there. If there's other areas of the product that you'd be interested in, we've got a Runecast YouTube channel, so please take a look at that. There are lots of videos and webinars that we've done in the past that are useful. Please go and check that out. If you are interested in and reaching out to me at the end of this webinar, and you want to find out more, please do. There's my email address again there, steve.bettison@runecast.com. Okay, let's move into the demo lab. So this will be a familiar looking screen to perhaps many of you on the call. This may be new for some of you. So this is the Runecast user interface, and it's typically deployed as a virtual appliance inside VMware. Very easy to set up and install, 20 to 30 minutes to install, configure, license, and you'll have something looking like this. So we break configuration issues and things down by severity. You can see there we're looking at knowledge-based articles, best practice adoption. The focus of today, we'll be looking at this hardware compatibility check. We're also going to be looking at the configuration vault. And the reason we'll be looking at that as well is because sometimes when you do an upgrade, if you're upgrading from one version of vSphere to another, sometimes the advanced settings that you've changed, sometimes those settings can be reset back to the default settings. With Runecast, once you've done your vSphere upgrade, you can use the configuration vault to come and check if some of those advanced settings have changed or not. And it gives you the opportunity then to do something about it and go back and reapply those advanced settings. So that's something I'm going to show. Just to put a bit of context around what Runecast can, proactively scan in terms of the platforms and systems. We've got two vCenter environments here. I'm going to be concentrating on these two today. VMware Horizon, we can scan and analyze. NSXT Manager there, that's your software-defined networking layer. We've also got VMware Cloud Director there. And you can see the three cloud offerings. We're going down that CMAP route now. AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud. And we can also scan Kubernetes environments and clusters, even down to the image itself, scanning inside the container, the applications that make up that container, and of course, operating systems analysis. But the focus today is going to be on VMware, and in particular, the hardware compatibility. So I'm going to flip onto the this vCenter 6.7 environment, and you get a different dashboard. This applies to this vCenter, but we're not going to look at vulnerabilities or KBs detected. We're going to go straight in to the hardware compatibility environment. Let me just take a breather there. There's been a question. Is Runecast able to perform audit ISO using the newest version? Good question. I believe so. Maybe I'll address that at the end. It's more around security and compliance. Yes, we do have coverage for ISO 27001. Maybe one I need to answer afterwards and go away and look at. Thanks very much, Andres, for that. If I don't answer that at the end, I'll get back to you on that one as well. So let's get back to the hardware compatibility. You can see here we've got this simulation tool up here. So these are old versions of ESXi. You can see there I'm on 6.5, and at the moment everything looks fine. These are ProLiant DL360 Gen 9s. Everything is looking fine. If I select one of those, you can see that the server, the configuration is all compatible. Hardware looks good. All of my I/O devices are green ticked, which means that, you know, my hardware and firmware versions and my drivers are up to date, which is all good. But I want to upgrade to the latest version. Well, I can't go straight from 6.5 or 6.7 to 8. I would need to go to 7, a version of release of 7 first. So what I can do here, from this drop down list here, I can select the version that I want to upgrade to, and I want to simulate the upgrade to 7.update3. I simply click the simulate button, and instantly, because of the AI engine, because this is very much automated, we're able to scan very, very quickly and check the hardware that I've currently got and the drivers and firmware, and check against, you know, whether I can upgrade to 7.03 here. Now you can see instantly, now imagine I had 20, 30, 40, 50 servers to do this. That's a lot of work involved to go away and do all of these checks. So Runecast is saving you a whole lot of time and effort by automating this process for you. And instantly you can see there, this particular host here, all looks fine. The server, the hardware is fine. The I/O devices are fine. I could confidently go away and upgrade this host to 7.03. However, these two up here have identified some issues there. So I can click in here. Now, in terms of the hardware, BIOS version, everything is fine. But I do have an issue with some I/O devices here. And it just happens to be one. It's my RAID controller. And it's showing that this driver here and this firmware version is not found in the VMware's hardware compatibility list. So, but that's okay. We're offering, you know, the list of supported drivers here. So in terms of the work that I would need to do, that remediation work on this host would be to upgrade this driver here with this minimum firmware version. And once I've done that, I can then come back in, rerun the simulation, and I would then hopefully get all of these turned to green. I'd then be able to, you know, confidently go ahead and do that upgrade. Now imagine, as I say, I've got 3 servers there. Imagine I had 20, 30, 40, 50 servers, and they could be different HP servers here. You might have different vendors. I can export all this out into a report. So, you know, if you need to do that, we can export that out into a CSV file, and you can then work from that to see what remediation steps you need to do to get yourself in that position to do the vSphere upgrade. Okay, so that's upgrading from 6.5 to 7. I do have another environment here that has some hosts that are on version 7 already, and that perhaps I'm looking to upgrade to version 8. You can see there's a few things going on. This is a demo lab. It's been designed to have some differences and some issues going on in there. This particular host has everything that's looking okay. I've already played around with this for the purpose of the demo. But look, I've got I've got a Gen 9 server there, and I've got 3 Gen 10s there, and I want to upgrade to the latest version 8. Again, I can run that simulation tool, and instantly I get some results. Now, if I look at the first 2, if I look at this first one, you know, it's complaining about the BIOS version on from the server side, from the hardware. So this, and it's offering me an alternative BIOS version there, so I could, that's a piece of remediation work there to do. And I've got some things going on with I/O devices. If I look at this second host, again, it's it's a BIOS version, and a few I/O devices there that need to be looked at. Let's have a look at this one. Now, this is one that I had the BIOS was updated. Some I/O devices there. If I have a look at that, I believe that's going to be, again, a firmware version not found in the HCL for that particular driver. Again, it's offering me an alternative driver there and the minimum firmware version required. You can also see there I've got some stuff going on with vSAN controllers, some issues there that I need to look at and remediate. But you get the idea. So it's the upgrade simulation tool, very, very easy to use. Couple of clicks, you can see exactly where you stand if you wanted to upgrade from a previous version to, in this case, the latest version of 8. Again, you can export all of this information out. This bottom one here is a Gen 9. Now, I know this is going to have a different result. This is going to tell me that configuration is possibly incompatible, multiple incompatibility there. I know that this hardware I cannot upgrade. So in this particular example, I would leave this server on the latest on the current version that it is, which is, well, it's actually on 7 update 1. I'd probably look to upgrade it to 7 update 3 and leave it there, because the hardware is not suitable to upgrade to vSphere 8. Just another question that's come in. Will Runecast help us fix these issues, or just only showing and detecting these issues? Well, we can't actually press a magic button to go and fix these issues. It's really identifying the work that you would need to carry out on those hosts. You know, upgrading a driver or the BIOS version. So my recommendation is that you follow the hardware vendors' guidelines for doing those updates on those particular hosts. Okay, the next thing I want to show you, and I mentioned earlier on, was the configuration vault. So sometimes when you upgrade from a version of vSphere to a later version, you can lose some settings, particularly advanced settings. And so what we've got within the solution here is the configuration vault. And the configuration vault is really useful for doing baseline comparisons. But in this instance, I want to look at an historical change. So I can simply select a baseline analysis, which is perhaps before I did the upgrade. So this was, you know, when I was at version 7, for example, and I've since upgraded to vSphere 8. I can come back in here, click apply, and if I pick on this host here, it's got some information here around the SSH service policy. You know, from the baseline was off, it's now turned on. But we've got these advanced settings here, advanced ESXi or host settings, and I can just click on this load diff file, and it will show me the values that I had in the advanced settings prior to doing that vSphere upgrade. So it's a really, really good way to come in and check using the configuration vault with Runecast to see if any of those advanced settings have changed or gone back to default. So in this particular one that's shown here, this buffer cache, you know, was at 30,000 value, it's dropped to 15,000. You can then, if you want to put that back to that advanced setting, that's what you would need to change on that host there. So that's the configuration vault for checking the you know, differences from advanced settings if they've changed after you've done that vSphere upgrade. So in summary, what does Runecast upgrade simulation tool do, and how does it help? It quickly identifies if your hardware is capable of a vSphere upgrade against the HCL, and it's done in a very automated way. I've demonstrated we can quickly identify BIOS mismatches, drivers and firmware mismatch against the HCL, and being able to then report that information out to be able to plan that remediation work that you need to do prior to starting that vSphere upgrade. In conjunction with VMware's product interoperability matrix, you would go ahead and look at that and check that, you know, if you're upgrading to say vSphere 8, you're not going to break something else within VMware, a Horizon or something else. So those are those fundamental checks that you would do. Plus, if your environment, you're integrated into any cloud interoperability, you would check those, and you would go and check against any third-party applications or devices or, you know, databases or systems that you're integrated there. Benefits of the Runecast upgrade simulation tool: we can save you hours, days, weeks, depending on how big your environment is in resource, time, money in the planning stage. As I've said already, customers have bought this product just for the upgrade simulation tool and the HCL checking, and then realized that Runecast does so much more in terms of compliance, security, vulnerability management. It's an automated process, so, you know, we are ensuring that nothing gets missed. You know, if you were doing all of this manually, you're going to miss something out, and, you know, there's a higher degree that you're going to potentially fail somewhere along the lines in the upgrade. Again, continuous hardware HCL checks on your vSphere systems, and you're kind of future-proof with Runecast, ready for any future VMware vSphere upgrades. And of course, as I've just shown you with the configuration vault, we can do checks against before and afters, you know, to check if advanced settings have been changed back to the default settings. I hope that's been useful. Let me just check if there's any more questions. Would the compare configuration still work if you chose to reinstall V8 instead of upgrade? We would still be able to see some differences because we've got that in the history. So, you know, before, you'll have had that history still there. If you reinstall version 8 and something gets missed, we can still see those changes. So yeah, the answer is yes, you can. Which one should be first, ESXi or vCenter for vSphere 7 to 8? I would check the documentation. In my experience, it's always vCenter gets upgraded first before you do the ESXi hosts. So vCenter first, then you start with your ESXi host, but always check the VMware guidance and documentation around that. So another question: how is it licensed per host per vCenter? So Runecast is licensed from a VMware perspective by CPUs, physical sockets, physical CPUs. So, you know, traditionally hosts will be dual socket. So one host, one ESXi host would be 2 CPUs, and you'd be licensed. That'd be 2 licenses. And you get everything that I've shown you in terms of, you know, configuration, knowledge-based articles discovered, vendor best practice checks, vulnerability management, security compliance, the configuration vault, the upgrade simulation tool, which we covered today. It's been the focus of today. All of that is included in that price. Are there any other questions? Okay. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me this afternoon. I hope that has been useful. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks there. I'm just going to put this slide back on. If you need to reach out, you want to reach out to me personally with any questions, or you want to find out more about Runecast, steve.bettison@runecast.com. Please visit our website. There's plenty of collateral there. If you want to find out more about some of the other products as well, we've got on our Runecast YouTube channel webinars and other videos for you to look at. Let me just check. There's another question come in. I see that you have a free trial. Does it cover all of the features? Yes, the free trial does cover all of the features. You will be able to use all of the functionality with that free trial license. It'll just be a cut down, so you'll get, maybe able to look at 5% of your environment rather than the whole lot, but you'll be able to do all of the features, and it covers all of that. Yeah, 100%. There's a couple of other things in the chat window that people are using. Thank you very much for that feedback. Runecast equals proactively detect and mitigate configuration issues with a solution for real time. Well said. Thank you very much. So is this just a monitoring and planning tool? Is it able to locate and assist in the installs of items that need to be remediated? It isn't just a monitoring tool. We are actually proactively showing you what you need to do. So if you've got a vulnerability, we will show you how to fix that vulnerability. And in many places within the solution, we have scripts, remediation scripts. These are customizable scripts that you can use for your environment. So we're even producing scripts for you to run to fix and mitigate those problems. I'll just hang on. Is there any more questions? Is the solution suitable for end customers or partners only? Absolutely suitable for end customers and partners. So yeah, absolutely. It's, as I said, it's a very, very easy tool to install, configure. There's no formal training required. It's very intuitive to use, very simple to set up, and you get results instantly. Very, very powerful, proactive, analytical tool. I'm going to just hold up. There is some more questions coming. This is great. How do we get pricing direct or via distribution UK based here? So depending on what region you'll have Prianto is our distributor. You can go through your partners depending on what region you are. So if you want to find out more, perhaps drop me a line. I can put you in touch with the right sales team, the right partners if that's required, and get you in the right direction. And I think that's it. Thank you. That's been great with all those questions. Thank you very much for your time today. Oh, is there another one coming in? Can I generate a detailed report after the analysis? Yes, you can. So within the product, all through the product, you're able to export from Runecast into a CSV file format or a PDF, so you can get you can compare and you can check in a detailed report after you've done that. So yeah, absolutely. How far back in time can you compare against the baseline? Again, depends on how long you've had Runecast. So all of the history is maintained. So if you've had it 6 months, you'll be able to go back 6 months and compare from that baseline. A lot of our customers have gold images, so they like to build do a baseline comparison from a gold image. That's very possible as well. So yeah, depending on how long you've had the product, you build it over time, will be dependent on how far you can go back. Great. I think lots of people are heading off and saying thank you. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Thank you for those great questions. I look forward to seeing you on future Runecast webinars. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much.